today. So sorry. We'll record this for the folks that are not able to attend live. But again, this is Best Missouri Hands Professional Development Workshop on getting juried into the Best Missouri Hands, which will apply to getting juried into shows and exhibits too. So we have with us Lisa Hilton, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Lisa, and um, let you kick this off. I appreciate you being here today because this is an important topic.
It is an important topic, and thanks, Kim. As she said, I'm chair of the jury committee, and I just want to say up front, this is a very informal session. If you have questions, interrupt me, put it in the chat. Kim's going to monitor it. This is we can be friends here and just have a conversation. I do have notes of what I'm going to say, but that doesn't mean I care if you interrupt me. I've chaired the committee for the last 2 years. And personally, I've worked hard to strengthen my own applications and learned the hard way over many times of applying. So, done many mock juries, was part of the Emerging Artist Program for the St. Louis Art Fair. So, these things helped when I applied to become a jury member for Best Missouri Hands. And subsequently, I have been a juror for shows and seen quite a few applications. So, it informs how I present today also. Um, we're going to demystify the juried membership process, share some tips on how to succeed. And then, the big focus is on images. That is really the most important part of becoming a juried member. All right, let me share my screen. Um, Let me go back. All right, here we go. What I won't cover, will cover eligibility, timeline, application, evaluation, best practices. We'll do some critiques and go from there. What I won't do is critique work. Um, and jurors don't critique work. They do a bit, but I personally, this is more about the images and the application. I will not go over how to create a login on Entry Thingy or upload images. If you have questions about those things, you can always reach me on the side. I'm happy to help, just reach out. I'm not going to teach how to edit images. If that is something you want to learn about, I'm happy to tell you um, how I do it, again, on the side. And then I'm not going to go over how to write artist statements because they are important for the jury application, but it's not part of what we're talking about. Yes, Kim?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, artist statements is a whole nother subject. That's a,
Yeah, a lot of these are. I just don't want us to go
yeah,
down a rabbit hole.
right.
Why do you want to become a juried member? Well, as Kim said, it's a professional distinction. And it says that your work is of a higher standard. You get a dedicated artist profile on the Best of Missouri Hands website, and galleries do use it, and people do use it to try to find artists. You can put your banner or badges or stickers in if you're at an art show on your work. You can do juried member only events, for instance, on our road gallery events. And we really like juried artists to participate in our educational outreach programs. So there's a lot of reasons to become a juried member. You need to have, to become eligible to apply, you need to be a member in good standing, so pay your dues, member for 90 days or more, and a resident in Missouri for 183 days a year. 2 times a year, the application opens, January and June. You submit via Entry Thingy. You can only get to this application. So if you already are on Entry Thingy, you can't go to Entry Thingy and search for our call. It doesn't work that way. It's a private call. You can only get to it if you go into the Best of Missouri Hands website for juried members and click the link there. And it only becomes live during the dates that it's open. Um, so in advance, so you don't, make yourself crazy. Uh, Create your account on Entry if you don't have it. You're going to need 4 images. Uh, following the criteria, 190, 1920 pixels on the longest side, within these size limits. An artist statement. Don't put your name in the artist statement. Um, Everything about an application needs to be blind. To create a description for each image, and they don't have to be. It could just be what it's made out of. It can be something that you thought about, but generally, and sometimes people use the same thing for each image if it's all the same kind of work. And then it will cost you $25 via PayPal. Some people don't understand how it feels a little, um, they don't really understand how the jury process works. And I will tell you that every session we get new jurors. And I wait until the applications start coming in to see what the mediums are. And then I reach out to our current juried members in those mediums and see who is willing to volunteer to be a juror. Um, we get 5 jurors. They change each season. So I try not to use the same ones twice. Uh, they're volunteers and they're serving you. And they are really, their job is really to help you become better. It's totally blind. You don't know who they are. They don't know who you are. That's why you don't put your name in anything. And then they provide scores of 1 to 5 on certain categories. So craftsmanship, design, originality, and overall presentation. And I can tell you that the overall presentation can be the killer um, for a lot of people. So I'm going to beat a dead horse here. Good photographs, cohesive body of work. Choose your category thoughtfully. So on Best of Missouri Hands, there is let me see. See, I didn't even need my best practices. Yes. Uh, Go to the Best of Missouri Hands definitions on the webpage. So we have them of what each medium is, and choose your category thoughtfully. This is a best practice for not just Best Missouri Hands. And we have had it in the past where a juror has said, I don't think they belong in this category. I
Mhm.
think they belong in XYZ. Um, and a lot of it comes down to people who are doing 2D and 3D mixed media. Is it mixed media? Is it painting? Is it drawing based on the medium being used? Um, Clear, concise uh, descriptions of your work. Let's see. What you don't want, your name in any artist statement, visible signatures on the work, watermarks. If you're a potter and the stamp is visible, most potters don't photograph their work that way, but it's a possibility. Your if you if it's not your name personally, but it's your studio name somewhere on the work, it all needs to be removed. If you are a 2D person with frame that frames work, don't include the frame unless it's integral to the work. So maybe you're a mixed media 3D artist or 2D artist, and the frame, some of the stuff comes off onto the frame. That might be integral to the work, but most painters and most photographers and most drawers don't, all they care about is the image because the frame will often distract from the work. No blurry or dark images. The big one is the consistent body of work. And we're going to go over a few examples. Most of the people who submitted for me, I would feel like their body of work is very consistent, cohesive. I put in one of my own work that is not, just so we can see what bad is, or not bad. It's not bad work. It's just not a good application with a cohesive body of work. Images that aren't straight or well cropped. So believe me, I have seen it all. And I won't reach out, uh, and I vacillate back and forth. But when somebody submits an application, I don't go back and say, you could really make it better if you would crop your images better. Or, the frame's not hanging straight or whatever. I don't do that because it's really up to you as an artist to look at your work critically and know and see what's wrong or not wrong with the images. Sometimes people reach out and ask my opinion before they apply, and I will help them definitely help them through it, but I won't tell them everything about what to do. Um, and we'll go over image sizes. So sometimes you can have really landscapey next to really portraity, and they don't flow across the application. Sometimes there's blurry images. And then we talked about being in the right category. There is on the juried member, the jury, how to be becoming a juried member. There is a YouTube website link that you can click that tells you about how to apply. It is a bit dated, and so some things have changed a little bit, but it's a good resource. And then always feel free to reach out to me at the jury committee at Best of Missouri Hands. All right, so example one. This is this is an application, and I will tell you, let me make sure I go over all the things that are bad about it. This body of work is not cohesive, and I will tell you why. Um, it is all figurative, but it is pretty disparate in that the finishes on it are not cohesive. And the definitely the photographs themselves, you can tell they were taken at different times with different backgrounds. Not not that any of them in and of themselves are bad images of the work. They just don't work together as a grouping where the backgrounds all are on the same gradient and of that nature. And here's an example of where you have a portrait next to a landscape, next to a landscape, next to a squarish. This is not this this is distracting for a juror when they have to they can't see the work and the layout distracts them from the actually viewing the work, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
The other big no-no is I have an image in there with multiple pieces. Sometimes people like to show more work. They like, oh, I can show them what I really can do and put multiple pieces in one image. No, it just is distracting one work at a time so the jurors can focus on that. What I will say is good about this application is the ordering. So if you notice the first image, the figure is looking in towards the other images, and the last figure is looking in. So your eye follows their gaze in and in. And so thinking about the direction of your pieces uh, and how the order in which they lay out is important. Any questions?
I have one, Lisa.
So you,
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Steve.
no, go ahead, Kim.
Uh, Lisa, I wholeheartedly agree on the flow, sending the juror's eye, to the right and then back to the left, keeping it on your work. I also
Hmm.
do that when hanging, well, when I did art shows and hanging my artwork. I wanted to know, do you do that with your sculptures? Because like if you were to walk in my booth, the animals on the left-hand side wall are going to be looking into my booth. The same with on the right. They're looking into the booth, and then on the back wall, most of those images were looking back out at the person. So do you do that when
Yeah,
you
I
set the booth
definitely
up?
think about yeah, I definitely think about how they are relating to each other
Okay.
when I'm displaying or hanging or doing. Yes, for sure. I
Okay.
think it's important. Steve?
I do hollow forms and stuff like that, which
Mhm.
is a brown that's hollowed out in the center. Would I do pictures solely of the outside or of the finish on the inside as well? Or
So we're actually one of our examples is glasswork, and I believe that is Julie's. Yeah. Um, and so this question comes up. So are they more of a turned bowl?
they're like a turned bowl, but there's a small opening at the top, and I hollow it from that opening.
Hmm.
It's not wide open like a bowl is.
I would say, so you would say it's more like a piece of pottery where it has a narrow opening.
Yes.
Okay. I would say only, in my opinion, it would be that only worry about the outside and you can
Okay.
describe the inside. Um, but I think it's too hard to get pictures of that and have them turn out and know what the juror know what they're looking at.
Right. But now, if it was a bowl that I was submitting, because I do those as well, I would want the inside and the outside, wouldn't I?
Um, I would say you don't want to be too far on top looking in. So if
Right.
you can get a glimpse without being, the angle does matter. Sometimes when you're doing, this is my opinion, when you're doing 3D work and you have a bowl like a potter or a woodworker and you're too angled, it can distort the image and you know, for me it almost makes me feel unbalanced if I'm looking in too much. So it's you little judgment, I think seeing some of the interior but not tons.
So if it was tipped at an angle type of
Yes.
thing, then
Yeah,
okay.
like I think it's almost easier to tip the bowl than it is to tip the camera, but I'm not an expert on. I know I can look at them and tell you, like, if you wanted to send it to me and I could give you my opinion. I mean, I don't know. Can you do XYZ? I would definitely give my opinion on that before the application is submitted. Uh, yeah, it's hard to know until I see it. What do you think, Kim?
Well, I think, like you said, where you just see a little bit inside. So so instead of straight on the bowl, because that's kind of boring. So just up a little bit so
Right.
you just see a little. I would also recommend too that visiting the websites of art shows like the Art Fair at Queenie Park, St. Louis Art Fair, they probably still have the images up from the artist from last year or this year's shows, and you can look and see what got juried into their shows, and so go specifically look at the wood artist and see how they
Okay.
got their images and stuff. It'll kind of give you a little starting point, maybe.
Okay.
That's a great idea, Kim.
Okay. Thank
Great
you.
idea. And the other thing I'm going to say about this, I threw this in um, as a bad artist statement. I don't know if you've all have read it, but this artist statement is dealing with me more as my bio and sort of all of that. What the jurors really want to hear is more about, and I included it because I see this a lot. Um, they want to hear about your process. How do you make it? What are the materials? What's um, uh, what is your inspiration versus less about you and what your accolades are, if that makes sense. Okay. This is one of our actually board members who supplied her images for us, and she applied actually a year ago to become a juried member. And she's a photographer, and this is the order in which she submitted, and this is her artist statement, which is much more on point. It's photography, so we know it's not painting or drawing or whatever. I mean, obviously she's in the photography medium, but that she's using different lenses, selective focus, intentional movement. So everything she's doing is on purpose. And in her application, it's a cohesive body of work because the coloring all flows. The
Mhm.
subject matter is all flowers. Um, and her first image is pointing in and then it down, and then we've got eye movement going like this. It's an excellent application. Any questions about this one? No.
No.
Okay. All right, Dolores. All right, let me get my notes on here. So Dolores submitted some images, and so my initial comments on this are that it is a completely cohesive body of work.
Mhm.
The images are nice, well photographed. We don't have, it's not blurry, there's no shadows. Uh, the image size and orientation is pretty cohesive. The one on the end stands out a little bit, being landscape versus, and you can see that, Dolores, as you see him here in the, and it's the piece on the end. It works with the grouping, but it's something to think about.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. And what else was I going to say about the only other comment I would have on this grouping is that the two in the middle are facing the same direction. Like the first image definitely works, but maybe one of the other two needs to be at the end so that it's looking into the application. Do you have any questions? You're muted, Dolores. Dolores, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry, it wouldn't come off.
No
Um,
problem.
yeah, because when I was choosing, I was thinking the same thing that one was as a landscape, and then the first one doesn't go as well with those other three. The other three are part of a series, and that was one question I had too. Was if like the first bird is sixth in a series that I'm doing, there'll be a
Mhm.
total of eight in it. Um, it's Is it bad or good to just put four pieces that are part of a series? Or do you want to see similar things that are cohesive, but not necessarily a series together?
I would say that um, I would say first go for cohesion and then strongest work.
Okay.
So for me, if you're going to be doing a series of eight of the first bird and you feel like those birds are your strongest work, then apply with all of those birds. If you feel like your more feathered ones, I don't, what's the series called with the other three in there?
They're called the royal birds.
Okay, so if those birds you feel are stronger than the series you're doing now, then I would do all four of those. I think if you go, they're all birds, so it's
Mhm.
cohesive.
Mhm.
If you feel like the strongest piece in each series works together, um, you're using all the same medium. They were
Mhm.
all, the other thing about the first bird is the background's a little bit, coloring wise, a little bit different.
Right.
So we are splitting hairs on this application, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay. Thank you.
But you're right, the first bird is distinctly different from the other three.
Yeah,
So it's either mix them all up or make them all the same.
gotcha.
Any
Okay.
other questions from anybody? Okay. Thank you for giving me submitting to
Thank
us.
you for, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. So this is another member of our board who applied to become a juried member last time and does jewelry. Um, this is a cohesive body of work. It's jewelry. So this one was interesting, and I included it because we got differing opinions from jurors on these images. One juror said, great images, and another juror said, I would like to see a lighter background. So you do get, the images are great. She did pass, and they all make comments in whether you become juried or not, I will share them with you so you can learn based on what the jurors say. But she did get conflicting opinions on this work and the photography of it. Not the work, the photography of the work. And here's another example. This is an example for a 3D artist, generally speaking, in jewelry. She did not do all cuffs. She did earrings, um, a pendant, and then two cuffs. It's still cohesive because she's using the same material, the same texturizing, and they all work together. So they're cohesive in that manner. If she had had bronze and then silver, or one was totally shiny and one was all textured, then we would be getting into different bodies of work. In my personal opinion, um, I do feel like the background is a little dark, but that's my personal opinion. Any questions on this one?
So you're
No.
saying she
Okay.
should have used a gradient, a
I
gradient background would have shown it up better.
Yeah, and that is thank you, Kim. That is that is the standard that most people who take images and submit say that you should do for 3D work is have a gradient background. That white is too, so for us, it doesn't matter as much because our jurors are looking at the images on a computer. But if you're thinking not just about our jury process, but about jurying for shows in general, white backgrounds um, are not as, they look great on the computer, but don't always look great if they are projected because they become too bright and they take away from the work. So the gradient background is the generally accepted best practice for 3D work. Wouldn't you say, Kim?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My other question about this application, because it is very cohesive, beautifully done and everything, like you said. Um, but to me, it looks obviously photoshopped,
Yes.
because
And I would
everything is
agree with you.
floating. Um, is there a plus or minus to that?
Um, and I would agree with you on that also, Kim, because it's something that bothers, like when this application came through, I was like, oh, they look like they were photoshopped on. Um, I don't know how this is going to go. And I, in this instant, I think the work scored strong enough to overcome those issues but I would say if you're applying to an art show that would be a bad practice to Photoshop onto a background. And if you were going to Photoshop onto a background, do a gradient background and make sure you have shadows
Yeah.
to make it look like it was real.
Right.
Really done. So yes, I would agree with you on that one also, Kim. Any other questions or comments?
The other thing that I might have done is I might have switched
Mm-hmm.
image 2 and 3 to separate the cuffs to give them a little breathing space.
I would agree with,
I think it might flow a little. I mean, like you said, there's just little things in an application that can make a huge difference. And since she is, presenting a variety of her work, which I think is important in jewelry, I just think that by just swapping 2 and 3 made it a stronger application too, on top of already its strengths.
yes, I would agree with that. I think the issue would become when you swap 2 and 3, the pendant is facing, we
Ah,
might get directional competition, but I wouldn't know unless I switched them.
yeah, gotcha.
Um, yeah. So this is an interesting one because this application did make jury did she did was successful, but for me, and she agreed for me to use her images. I didn't use anybody's images that didn't agree to them. And she agreed that I could share the jurors' comments. So I'm not doing anything out of turn, just so anybody knows. Um, okay, Julie. So Kim tells me that you are a juried member in other mediums. Is that correct? Is she here?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you're going into glass.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't know if you told me the art order, but I picked an order.
Yeah, I would almost maybe looking at all the other ones that you showed of possibly putting the bowls on this outside and the ruffled vases on the inside.
I got you. So you would take image 2 and 4
Swap
and
one.
okay. Okay. So um it is definitely a I would call it a cohesive body of work, even though the um image 1 and 3 are using, and I don't know all the technical terms, but the edge is treated differently than the
Correct. The ruffled.
holes, yes, on 2 and 4.
Correct.
Uh what I would say is there is some variation in, and you've done a nice job with the gradient background, and the shadows are not overly distracting to me, and you do not have um a lot of times with glass, the glare is a problem.
Hmm.
And Kim, you're a photographer, so you probably see more than I see. Uh, of course, everything, if it's projected on a screen for an application show, is stands out more than it would on a computer screen with 4 images next to each other like this. So, Steve, here comes an example of it's they're not bowls, but they're bowl-like, and the two with the more ruffled edges are bowls.
Mhm.
Julie, what would you call the image 1 and 4?
1 and 4.
I mean, 1
Uh,
and 3. I'm sorry.
they're ruffled candle vases.
Okay.
Okay.
You put
Okay.
lights in it and it sparkles.
Okay. In the bottom.
Yeah, it actually lights up when you put a candle or even little bitty lights, and it lights the entire piece.
Okay. And did you take images with it lit versus unlit?
I do have both, yes, but I didn't put that in here.
Okay. I'm not sure that would add to it. I was just curious if you saw how they looked. And then my other question is, do you do any other glass pieces that are in this line?
Um, I have done many ruffled vases, and I
No more
have
tall.
that are tall.
Okay.
No, what did you ask? I'm sorry. What did you?
Like in within this body of work, are there any other, like the jewelry, there were 3 different jewelry
Mhm.
essentially. Is there, you've shown us 2, the light, the luminaries ish, and then the bowls. Is there any other? Are there any other
Any
kinds,
other
shapes?
styles that I'm
Yeah.
doing? At this time, just the bowls and the ruffled vases.
Okay. All right. And I'm not saying you need more. I'm just asking a question, so I can't
That's
see that.
okay. Yeah.
Um, so when I look at these lined up, it is a cohesive body of work. And what I was going to say was almost maybe too cohesive. Say, they are all the same. I- For me, because I didn't have descriptions, so I don't know that the 2 are more of a luminary and the other 2 are bowls.
Hmm.
You can see that they're closed. I personally, I can't decide. So, Steve, this comes to your thing. Do you see a little bit of the inside, or do you not see a little bit of the inside of the bowl?
On the second image, I see a little bit of the inside, and on the first image, I see a slight on one end.
Hmm.
Um,
And I'm not
I
sure
can
if
see the little bits on all of them.
yes, and I'm not sure. So for me, if I look at these 4 images, image 3, and I know, because I photograph 3D work, image 3, well, even image I would say, first of all, they're cropped a little, the pieces need a little bit more room to breathe. If there's a little bit more on the sides,
Mhm.
the pieces would not be so close to the edge and it would give them a little bit more breathing room. And if on images, even so, image one, it has a little more breathing room on the left than on the right, as
Mhm.
far as how close the image is cropped. And
Hmm.
it generally feels square around. When we get to image 2 and 3 and 4, they are have much more on the top, much more background in the top.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so I feel like they could be a little bit more centered so that the work is and not so cropped on the sides, so that you'd have a little bit more breathing room for the piece, generally speaking. Does that make sense?
Yes. The biggest problem that I was having with taking those is shadowing. Uh, no matter, I mean, we tried all kinds of lights all over the place, and no matter what I did, I shadow.
Well,
And
I wouldn't say that shadows are bad per se on 3D work.
so that's something that may have changed because when I juried in pottery, um, that was you didn't want that.
I mean, well, first of all, you can't get rid of shadow. I think you don't want too busy of a shadow. And I know reflections are a big deal on glass and
Yes.
you can get reflective down below. Uh, and, and I know that I wasn't going to talk about doing photographs, and I'm not sure if it works for glass or not, but I have one light above
Mm-hmm.
and one light on the side, and and I'm not an expert on taking images. I've just figured out how to do it for my own work. And I have it muted with white cloth on both of them. And so it, but I don't, I don't do, so it might be something to research more,
Yeah,
but
we've tried like I've got a bright light on top, and then I came with bright or ones on the side and both sides. And so I tried all different directions of it. And it's like I'm getting all these shadows, but if what you're seeing here and the shadowing that is there is no big deal, then I'm doing fine on the shadowing part of it.
what is
Um,
your opinion on the shadows, Kim?
The shadows aren't bothering. Like image two, that one I think has the most shadows, and I like it. The biggest distractions for me when it first came up was the size difference because I don't know, that just kind of threw me because, like you said, they're not cropped the same and stuff like
correct.
that. And then two, Julie, are you using the same background on all of them? Because the backgrounds,
Yes.
so it's the lighting that's making them different. Because like image three, I would say that's probably the more preferred. It goes dark to light gray and stuff. Where like four and two might maybe see a little washed out or something. I don't know.
And
Those are they don't seem cohesive. The backgrounds don't. So I don't know if I guess that's the lighting.
I use it must be because it's taped to the wall
Okay.
and I'm just setting the pieces on there and I'm wondering if it has something to do with the color of the glass. Because
Mm.
I did find there were other pieces that I was trying and it was throwing these pink hues all over that thing. And it was changing the colors of the background of the paper and no matter what I did, and it was like, man, what's going on here? And so I don't know. Am I better off doing all ruffle vases and different colors and looks, or am I better off doing all bowls and not mixing it?
I like the
No,
mix, because it shows versatility. And you're doing
Mm-hmm.
two of each. I don't like when you do like Dolores, okay, just going back on that. Um she had two different styles there. And like
Mm-hmm.
Lisa said, it probably would have been better to do four of one style, or if she'd have done two of each style. And so
Mm-hmm.
here I think you're showing versatility by doing the two different styles. For me, the sizes, like Lisa said, the cropping of them and stuff, and because of the background, you know,
Probably the reason why the cropping was the way it was I was kind of bouncing sideways on them, and the white around the radiant background, was like right there. I was trying to get it to where the shine was shining right, and you know what I'm saying.
right.
Yeah, it's
So,
definitely a struggle with glass and 3D objects to get all of that correct. Because the other thing for me is um, is how they line up along the bottom. So for me, it's
mhm.
a little distracting that,
The
you know,
orange is up.
yeah, the orange is up. Even the number two is a little up from the two others. And then on the last image, I was wondering, it seems like the back side of the bowl is a little lower. Was there a reason to turn it so that part was front? And then you would see more of the back when it was, hanging up more of the interior because that side is higher.
Um, Probably I chose the side that I like the best, but I mean it all looks good, but I mean that makes sense to turn it to where the taller side is in the back.
Yeah.
So you can see I see what
Mhm.
you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's what I would, yeah, that's what I agree with. I agree with Kim. The two and two does not bother me. Um, and it's for me, it's more the cropping. I agree with Kim on the background that
It's got to be the same color. Yeah.
it needs to be in the same color zone and then lining them up. I don't have I picked the order. I don't
That's
have a
okay.
big I don't have a big problem with the order.
Okay.
Uh
Well, another question I have is what if you can is would it look good and is it allowed to have them sitting on an object, the same object going across, like a stand or a block or something like that?
I
Finish it
I
out.
I don't know what's your thought on that, Kim.
I say absolutely no.
Okay.
Because I mean, how many mock juries have we attended, Lisa, with St. Louis Art Fair? And you'll see jewelry artists are notorious for this. They will put their necklace sprawled out across a slab of wood or something, or stones, and it's beautiful, but that's a commercial shot. That's a shot for your website, for your social media. When jurying, if you
Hmm.
don't have to have a stand to make that stand, you don't want to put any other object in there for them to be wondering, what is that? Why is,
Yeah,
you
and
want,
why is it included and is it part of the thing? Did she make it? Did she not make it?
yeah.
Okay. The other question I have is on the ruffled vases.
Mm-hmm.
I photographed a full side instead of having it to where it's bent view and going back on both sides. Understand what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
there's like three folds, and I thought it was better to maybe show an entire side, or is it better to have it to where you're seeing it set up as towards have the fold in the center with the rest of the vase on either side.
So I didn't realize there were three folds in there. So that is, and I think angling it a little bit, turning it maybe 45 degrees, first of all, might help with your cropping issue
Mm-hmm.
because you'll make the piece a little narrower. And then it might also give us more information about what's in the back that I didn't realize was there.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think, Kim?
Uh, I I didn't really understand, Julie. Were you talking about doing like a close up or like like Lisa's saying, just angled?
Well, my ruffled vases, they fold three folds, okay?
Okay.
And so if you let's look at the purple one on the left hand side. There's two folds. There's another fold in the back. And
Okay.
what I did was just take a picture of the full side to be able to see the ruffle and the color of the vase and everything. Should it be more angled to where you're seeing all three folds, or just more of an angle to where that fold, let's say the fold on the right hand side that's lower, if
Right.
that is turned to the left, then you're kind of seeing an angle of that vase,
Right.
the different levels of it.
I
Does that
agree
make
with
sense?
Lisa that, maybe on something like that, it is better to angle it more. But also too, anytime you shoot a piece of work when it's, not a painting or photography, uh, I think you should take multiple shots of that piece from different angles and stuff, because then later you go back and you're like, ooh, I like this, and then you're matching it with other, so I would shoot it at different angles and see what seems the strongest for you that you can, select from when you're doing an application.
I agree with that completely. I always turn mine unless I'm getting lazy and at least get a front and a back. But I usually try to get four sides, if not eight sides, and I will look at them and decide which one is the right one that feels the best on that piece. Now, the problem is that if you have these luminary, um, the ruffled vases,
Mm-hmm.
you'd want them to both be in a similar angle-ish, maybe facing different directions. So they're either, both going in or whatever, so that one's not flat on and one's not at an angle, because that might be distracting. But you got to play with it and look at it.
Okay. Yeah, because this is I when I show these, I don't show them at still life. They're on a turntable that turns
Okay.
automatically, and see the lights and the way yeah. And so this is all new. Trying to make it a still life. So, okay. That gives
Okay.
me some good ideas.
Okay. And that was our last example. Um, Final tips: prepare early, photograph thoughtfully, submit confidently.
Mhm.
Any other questions? There is a PDF checklist that I shared with Kim that I guess she'll post with the recording.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, I sent it via email.
Okay.
Yes, any other questions? And I have 10 minutes, so if it's unrelated to applying or just questions, I'm happy to answer those now.
Lisa, I don't know if
Yeah.
everybody on here is familiar. Lisa definitely is. That the St. Louis Art Fair has a mock jury every January. Do you know what the dates are for this year's?
I do not, but let me
Okay.
see if I can
All right.
figure that out.
I would encourage everyone here, whether you ever plan to apply for the St. Louis Art Fair or not, is irrelevant in this. They're just there to try to help people, just like Lisa's doing with this presentation. So you can attend in person, which if you can, I do that. But they also have where you can watch it online. But if you can go in person, because like Lisa said, the images that they're going to jury for their show are projected. They're not watching them from the computer screen. They're projecting them on five large screens across the back of the room. And once you've sat through that day of the mock jury, you'll start to notice, just like with Lisa's, just the examples that she showed, you started to notice. I mean, because as she pointed out things, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me, and so I would highly encourage that you participate, whether you attend, like I said, just as an observer, or you can submit images. And I think it's $10 or $15. It's something very cheap to submit
It's
your image.
inexpensive. And the other thing, even if you don't have a booth
Mhm.
shot yet,
Yeah.
submit 5 images so they can at least critique the cohesiveness of the body of work, because they will touch on that, and how like the images, whether the images worked or what needed to be tweaked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So
the other thing is, whether you agree or don't agree with what is a good image or not a good image, or how best to photograph your work, what you're learning from mock jury is what jurors look for. And essentially, it's learning how to create an application that has the most chance of success and isn't going to be poo-pooed right away because you've done a big faux pas, whether you agree with it or not. The other thing we didn't talk about here, I didn't put an example of it, was detail shots. No. Like for me, I will take shots of the texture and I use those for social media, for my website, for whatever, but I would never apply with those shots unless it's not an art fair or an art show and it's some other kind of an application that allows multiple images for one piece of work, but I have them in case I need them. And the other thing that you absolutely do not do is a put a person in the picture to give scale. You don't put yourself in any pictures, and you don't do a picture in picture. So sometimes people will do the piece of work and then show a detail shot, and they'll Photoshop it on so that you are essentially getting two pictures in one picture. You don't want to do that either.
right. The exception to the
I have
model,
a question.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say
Go ahead, Kim.
the exception to the models might be for jury, or I mean for jewelry or wearable fiber. But like Lisa said, you don't really want to show their face. A lot of those are shoot from the nose down or something like that. Or if they are showing the face, the eyes generally do not look directly out. They'll look to the side or something. It's not like they're staring down the juror. So
And it's not the artist themselves. It's not the artist themselves, and they usually use the same model for each thing, so the model becomes cohesive too.
yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Um, in the statement,
Mm-hmm.
usually and I'm wondering if to leave this out or can I put this in, that I used to do free form abstract clay pieces, and I'm trying, and I what my goal in working with the glass is to be able to do what I did in clay as far as the movement and abstractness of. I mean, do you is it bad to include the that I did clay, and that's my goal, is to mimic what I had done previously in the clay, because I did not throw. I hand built, and all my stuff was very flowing and abstract, and bowls and things like that, and that's where my goal's going to.
Well, personally, I think that um, there's a way to weave that in without it being so focused on the clay. My previous work in hand building clay, freeform clay, has informed how I am treating glass, and it's something on that nature, so that it's not. I was a clay artist for many, many years. I have switched to glass because of XYZ, and now I'm trying to get the glass to do the same thing the clay did. That versus less about the leading with the glass. The glass is the focus. I'm working in glass, and I was always, I don't know, impressed with. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kim?
Uh, well, I would say write a couple different ones because, like, I have, statements that are just for my photography, statements that are just for my book, and I have statements that combine the two. And then also, I have
Mm-hmm.
statements saved in different links, like under 100 characters, so then you really gotta, narrow things down. But then some applications or whatever will allow you a whole bunch of space. So I would just create several and save them and pull upon which one you think is strongest for what it is that you're applying for and stuff. But I like what Lisa said, just kind of, like she said, just kind of blend it in there like you're saying you're doing and
That your
maybe have,
previous clay experience
yeah.
is forming your glass, has informed how
Perfect.
you handle
Yes,
glass.
that sounds good. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else?
A lot of my pieces are utilitarian,
Mm-hmm.
so they can, would that affect the jury process?
I do not think it affects in what way?
Well, some of my work tends to be a little bit thicker because it's utilitarian, and it needs to hold up to use. Is that okay to submit, or should I go for lighter, thinner pieces?
I would say, for me, let's see, hold on. I would say that I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you all. Um, my first question is, can you even tell how thick it is from the images?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to look at them to
But
see.
my next thing would be a functional potter. Their pieces are functional, and they say that in their you can tell by looking at a cup that it's functional. Some potters will say that they focus on functional wear because XYZ. They believe the vessel, they want people to hold it, they want it to be useful, they want blah, blah, blah. So if what you're doing is primarily functional, I wouldn't worry about how thick it is or any of that, as long as the jurors know that it's functional.
Okay, so that
Because
would go back
a
to
lot of woodworking is not it's not really meant to hold water or to be a real vase, and so that would be a distinction, I would say.
okay, and I just need to include that in my statement.
I would say so. What do you think, Kim?
Well, when you say functional, some of your pieces, Steve, are you talking like salad tossers, spoons, and things like that?
I'm talking more like salad bowls,
Okay.
platters that can be used to serve.
Okay.
Um, in my vases, some of them I completely hollow them. Some of them I drill them out and put
Okay.
a plastic insert so they can use either dried or cut flowers.
Well, I would agree with Lisa then. I don't think the thickness matters and stuff. Now, if I was thinking like if you were doing like, spoons and forks and things like that, that I wouldn't include those in your jury image. Like me as a photographer, I always made handmade cards too. I mean that, I tore the images and all this kind of stuff, but I never included my cards in my jury images. I included, but they, when you go to a show or something, I would say that I had items that were, under $10 or something, or that I did handmade cards. So they knew that, but those were not included in my jury images. So I agree with Lisa. I mean, if you're
Right.
doing, functional platters and bowls and stuff like that, I don't think the thickness matters as far as to the jury. You just want to present the best
Okay.
photo, the best image you can of that piece to
The
show the
best photo
beauty.
and the best work.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
best photo, your best work
yeah.
Okay.
in a cohesive grouping.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Awesome. All right.
Lisa,
Thank you guys for having patience with me and showing up and being here and asking questions.
you
Thank you
you
for
did
all
a
the good information.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
you did good, Lisa. You covered a lot of stuff that I think's important and, you know. So do you if people want to contact you about any questions, uh do you have a Best Mr. Hand
Absolutely.
email, or how should they contact you?
Yes, it's jury at bestofmissourihands.org.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's called, I think it's in the PDF handout,
Okay,
but
okay.
I for sure I think it's in there. But if you go to the Best of Missouri Hands website, I think you can find
Okay,
me on the board one and you can email me from there also.
okay. Okay.
And if you're on Facebook or Instagram, direct, DM me. I'll answer to that too.
All right. You did
All
fantastic.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah. And
All right, guys, all have a great day.
yeah. We'll do this again next month, January something, January 13th, and that'll be a roundtable discussion, what worked for you in 2025 and what didn't, and what you'd like to do going forward. So, thank you everybody for being here.
Yeah,
Happy
happy
holidays.
holidays. Happy New Year. Bye,
Thanks.
all.
Bye.
Interesting.